Hey YouTube friends, I'm going to make this video on my life story continued. I watched my story this morning. Again, I made a video about 7 years ago covering from the time I was born until I met my ex-husband 7 years ago. So this video will cover my last 7 years. So I met my ex-husband online. We met on plentyoffish.com, and our story was really pretty beautiful at the beginning. I emailed some guys. I specifically emailed guys who were divorced because I wanted someone who was like the guy I was with before my ex-husband. And I was thinking that any guy who's been through a divorce, that really humbles them, and theoretically it makes them appreciate the next girl that they're with more, theoretically. But then, when you go through that, it kind of gives you baggage, so that can affect your next relationship, which is why we didn't work out, or at least I don't think that we're going to work out. Anyways, so I searched for divorce guys. I emailed some. I was like, hey, how are you? And he wrote me back like 2 weeks later, and he was like, are you still single? And I was like, yeah. He was like, what's your phone number? And he called me that night, and we talked, and it was like, it literally probably was the best conversation still to this day of my entire life with a guy. And he read some poems to me that he had written, and I literally was like bawling on the phone. Like, I don't think he could hear me, but I was like crying because I was so happy. I was like, wow, I finally met a Christian. Because it's so hard to find a Christian. Like, I think I swear 90% of the American population thinks they're Christian, but it's probably only like 5%. So I was like, wow, I finally found a needle in a haystack. I found that, guy that's in the 5% of people who are actually saved. And, I could just tell that he was really on fire, and actually I used to refer to them as hardcore Christians, people that actually love God with their whole heart, mind, body, and soul. So I was crying, and I was so happy. And then we met the next day for lunch, and I was like, oh, he's really sweet. He seemed kind of nervous, but I was like, I could tell he had a really good heart. And then we hung out for a week, and then we literally got married. We got married 2 weeks after we met, and we just went to the courthouse. I've never really been big on expensive weddings because I think it's a huge waste of money. So we just signed papers and had a little ceremony at the courthouse, and it was free, right? Mostly free. So that was really, really a fun beginning. So I moved in with him, and then I worked at a preschool for a while, but then I got pregnant, and I was having a lot of nausea and throwing up, so I was felt like it was kind of hard to work. So I ended up quitting, and then I guess that's when I officially became a stay-at-home mom, and then I've been a stay-at-home mom for 7 years. So initially I was just a stay-at-home pregnant person, which I don't know how women work when they're pregnant, but I guess every woman has a different pregnancy each time. But for me, I had a lot of nausea and throwing up, which might have been because my gallbladder has always been kind of messed up. I got my gallbladder taken out 2 years ago, so I think I've always had issues with my gallbladder, so it probably was just acting up more when I was pregnant. But anyway, so I was nauseous a lot. But we had fun. We went hiking, and we played basketball, and we did mini golf and bowling, and we had a pretty good beginning to our marriage. There was a little bit of tension because I was always raised Baptist or non-denominational, but he was kind of into charismatic stuff, and he was really into praying in tongues. And if you know anyone who's into that, they try and get everybody else into it, which it's frustrating for the general population, I think, because it's that's cool if you want to have that gift, but you don't have to force everybody else to do it too. And I think I have the gift now, but I'm not going to force it on anybody else. I don't really care if anybody else does it. I think it does edify me, but I don't know. I don't agree with the obsession over that spiritual gift, but I did feel like he was a little bit obsessed with it when we met, and he kept wanting me to do that, and I felt like he thought he was superior to me because he had that gift. So I think there was always a little bit of spiritual competition for us our whole 7 years of marriage, which I didn't mean to compete. I wasn't trying to compete, but I always felt like he was. But anyways, I guess the only other issue of tension was like he always wanted me to wear a lot of makeup, but I've always been kind of anti-makeup, mainly because it makes me break out and get pimples, and I hate having pimples. I naturally have pretty oily skin, so if I put on like powder or foundation or even blush, it makes me break out. So, that was kind of an issue of tension for us for quite a while, actually. What else? There was one night where I picked up his phone. This was like literally only the one time in our 7 years of marriage that I picked up his phone. And it was when we were living at his mom's house. And it was like 3 months after we got married. And I saw a bunch of emails from him to girls on Facebook. And one of them had like a heart. And I was like thinking, why would you send another woman a heart in an email? So I was really mad about that. And it was on 9/11, ironically, that I decided to look at his phone. And so I was really mad. And he was like, I'm so sorry, blah, blah. Anyways, and then so we had a couple fights in that time period. We tried to go on this like road trip, and I looked at his phone, and I looked in his search history. Okay, so this was the only other time. There were only 2 times where I looked at his phone. This other time I looked at it, and in his search history there was like porn, that he had looked up porn, but he told me at that time that, some coworker got my phone when I was sleeping at work, and they were looking at porn on my phone, and I believed him. And what's really funny about that is that now, 7 years later, he admitted to me 6 months ago that he has been looking at porn our whole marriage. I mean, not like a ton. Well, I really have no idea how much, but the fact that he was looking at it didn't piss me off as much as the fact that he lied about it. I mean, I probably asked him 20 times in the last 7 years, like, so you're not looking at porn, right? And he'd always say no. And then I was thinking back to that day when I saw his phone, and it was in a search history, and he said that a coworker had, done that on his phone, but it was him. So there was kind of a lot of lying on his part. So that was really frustrating. So I always had a hard time trusting him. And I think I always kept myself guarded. I never fully let myself fall in love with him the way I did with the guy I was before. My ex I did. I was head over heels for him, but he died from drinking and being on medication. And that was so hard. And I think grieving that and that kind of made me put a wall up. I think I was I'm not going to let myself go that much with the guy, because what if he dies? And so I think for that reason, I had a guard up with my ex-husband, with Ben, but then it was also because he lied and I felt like I couldn't trust him. So, there always was a little bit of a block there, I think, for us, really being able to fall in love. And I always felt like he thought he was superior to me because of the tongues thing. So, anyways, so all that happened. And then I thought he was emailing an ex-girlfriend, and I was really upset about that, which he might have been. So that all happened in my 9 months of pregnancy, my first pregnancy. Then I had my daughter, and that was heaven on earth, total bliss. I was on cloud 9, high on love with my first daughter, Serenity. She was so cute, and I took 30 pictures of her every day, and I was just so enthralled with her existence, and then I got to have her, and she was so cute. So that was a lot of fun being a new mom. It was a little bit stressful. I mean, sometimes it was man, stop crying, babies do cry a lot. And if you don't know about taking care of a baby, basically either you have to make sure their diaper's dry or give them a bottle, or they're tired. But a fourth thing is they might need to burp. And I think that was something I wasn't realizing enough with my first, maybe she needs to burp. Because if they need to burp, they're going to cry a lot. So I had some fun adventures there being a new mom. Ben was working a lot at that time, so I didn't really see him a whole lot. So that's when I published my books on Amazon, because, taking care of one baby really isn't that hard. So I had a lot of time, I would have her just sitting next to me, and I was organizing. I literally organized 20 or 25 books. I put my blogs into these books in Word documents and uploaded them and self-published them on Amazon. Also because I just felt like I needed to contribute to our income. Like I was hoping I would make money off of them. I haven't really made much at all off of them, but whatever. But anyway, so I did that. We lived in an apartment for 9 months. It was like a horrible apartment. The AC didn't really work except for in my room. And the heater didn't really work. So it was like freezing in the winter and really hot everywhere but my room in the summer. So that was horrible. We should have never picked that apartment. Then we moved to like this beautiful, luxurious apartment. It was a 1-bedroom though. And me and my ex-husband actually never slept in the same bed because he snored really loud. Like, I mean, literally it sounded like a train. So I couldn't sleep. And then I guess I snore too. So we have almost never slept in the same bed except for maybe like 2 months of our marriage. So in that 1-bedroom apartment, he was sleeping on the couch, which was always kind of frustrating because then I couldn't really go out in the living room, but whatever. So I was in the room. We had a hot tub there. That was a lot of fun. We would go to the hot tub and go swimming a lot. Those were really good memories. But then we had this really weird bug issue. And, I got pregnant a second time. And then I started feeling bugs. And, it's possible it was an internal thing. Like maybe it was part of my pregnancy. My mom researched it and I was looking into it. Like if you have bile floating around in your system, it can make you feel like there's bugs on you, like poking your skin, but it's actually an internal issue. So it's possible it was an internal issue, but I really never could figure out the mystery of like what it was. We went on a cruise to the Caribbean. We went to Jamaica, the Grand Cayman Islands, and Cozumel, Mexico. So, I mean, maybe we picked up some weird, exotic bug down there and brought it back with us. Anyways, this bug, like, if it was a bug, it completely stressed me out for literally like 2 years. We had issues, and I was literally washing all our sheets every day. I was vacuuming every day while I was pregnant, mind you. I can't believe I was working that hard. But we finally beat it. I mean, finally the bugs are gone now. And that all started like 4 years ago. Insane. And I read about it online, and apparently it's a pretty common issue, like people having these weird bug issues. And it's not fleas, it's like some other weird bug. And they call them no-see-ums because you can't see them, but you feel them. So, anyways. But I think the issue is I had opened my window a lot in my room, and there's bugs that can get in through the screens. So be careful of that. Like, don't open your windows too much, like for longer than like 10 minutes. Because, yeah, there's bugs that can come in through your screens, and they're called no-see-ums, and they can infest your house. So we tried getting professional bug spraying. It didn't work. We tried flea bombs. It didn't work. So we moved out of that apartment, and they let us out of our lease early because I said, we were having a bug problem. And I got rid of all of our furniture because I felt like the bugs were like in the furniture, in the mattresses. It was insane. So we moved to this new apartment. It was a little bit better there, but it was still kind of bad, and I didn't know what the heck it was. Then I had my second daughter, and I was really, really in love with her too. It was a different kind of love, I think, with my second girl. It was like a more mature love. Like, I felt more responsible, I think. Like, the more kids you have, I think the more responsible you get, and I felt more like I can handle this, With my first girl, I was a little bit scared. My second girl, I was like, yes, I can do this. I'm going to be a great mom. I'm going to do better this time. And I think I did, for sure, for the most part. I did better with my second girl. So I had my second girl. We moved. Our lease was up 3 weeks after I gave birth to her. So then we moved out to Austin to live with my mom in Georgetown. And that was fun, but my husband wanted to stay at his job in Odessa, so he stayed there for like 2 months, and that was kind of a hard thing because we were separated. I mean, we weren't like mad at each other, but he was living with his mom, and then I was living with my mom. And eventually he quit and moved out with us and found a job being a fuel truck driver out here in Austin, so that was really good. That was a huge open door. Thanks be to God. And so he did that job for like a year, and then he switched companies, and we lived with my mom for like 2 months, and then we got our own apartment, and that was really cool. I still felt like I was having weird bug issues there. I didn't know what the heck it was. My best memory from that apartment was me and my oldest daughter would go on a walk every day, like around the complex. And that was a lot of fun. And